Hi teacher, this is group 4. We are Zhang Zhilei, Deng Lan, Zhong Xinhan, and Zhang Rui. Our topic is shadow economy. This is our presentation. Our presentation have 4 points. 1. Introduction to shadow economy of USA. 3. Challenges. 4. Conclusion. First of all, I will introduce to you what shadow economy is. Shadow economy, also called the underground, informal, or parallel economy, refers to the economic market where the nation cannot implement tax administration and supervision. How many types of activity of underground economic activities? We have monetary transactions and non-monetary transactions. What's more, those activities also have illegal activities and legal activities. We can say this table, we have many activities is shadow economies, such as trade in stolen goods, drug dealing, and manufacturing. Next, our partner will introduce her part.
Okay, I'm the next presenter. For this presentation, our group is choosing United States as the objective to analyze. Okay, for this United States, we found some data from the website. The economics, they estimate the size of United States underground economy, excluding the criminal activity like drug stealing, was 7.2% GDP in 2007. It's actually below the global average for that year of 13.9% of GDPs. This data is from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. But we found that in 2018, the underground economy actually increasing to 11% to 12% of United States GDPs. And that year, the GDP was 20.5 trillion. So we can calculate the underground economy in that year is about 2.25 trillion to 2.46 trillion. So during this period, actually, it's happened 2008 global financial crisis. So the global financial crisis actually revived the shadow economics. So what is about the disadvantages of this increase in shadow economic scales? There are two main disadvantages. The first will be decreasing in the government revenue. The data from the Internal Revenue Services that they say that nearly about 500 billion was lost to the undeclared wages in 2012 alone. The second disadvantages will be the workers, because the workers under the underground economy, they are not really get much attention because they don't have health insurance and they didn't get the workers' compensations, and they just get a little bit legal protections, and they are not contribution to future social security benefits. So the workers, unlike this, will more vulnerable to exploitations. Next, I will move to the next presenter to continue our presentation.
This section, I will introduce the challenge. The challenges that country faced. Most importantly, there are two of challenges that country faced. The first of all is policy implications. The second is regulatory enforcement. The first of all, while these remain open to criticism, there are two major implications of the existence of shadow economics for governments of both developed and developing countries. Secondly, studies have shown that higher levels of regulation are correlated with a larger shadow economic. Next. And they are a discussion paper disseminated by the Institute for the Study of Labor in Bonn in December, was one of the most comprehensive assessments thus far of the size of shadow economics worldwide. It covered 145 countries. The report found market differences in the size of shadow economics in different groups of countries. There are three of countries was introduced. The first of all is OECD. In the 12 OECD countries researched, and the second is Asia, among developing countries and the transaction countries of Central and Eastern Europe. The third one is Africa. For the 37 Africa countries researched, the average size of shadow economic rose from 41.3% of GDP in 1999 to 2000. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, conclusion. As mentioned above, the increase in the size of shadow economy is likely to lead to a reduction in national tax revenues, which in turn will reduce the quality and quantity of goods and services provided by public. On the other hand, 2/3 of income earned in the shadow economy is immediately spent in the official economy. Shadow economy growth affects everyone, but it's hard to assess whether the shadow economy will ultimately affect the official economy in a positive or negative way. The main drivers behind the size and the growth of the shadow economy appear to be rising tax and social security burdens, and the increasing prevalence of state regulation. Arbitrary enforcement of laws and regulations encourage shadow economy activities. The finding underscores the importance of the rule of law in curbing corruption and related shadow economy activity. The findings have some useful implications for policymakers. Marginal tax rates are more relevant to people's shadow economy job decisions than average tax rates. More frequent tax reviews and tougher penalties for tax evasion could reduce the size of shadow economy. Governments should pay more attention to legalizing certain shadow economy activities, for example, by opening up their labor markets. Reform sites relax regulations and make the economy more competitive, reduce incentives for corruption, and encourage companies to move from shadow to the formal economy. Instead of increasing the number of regulations, governments should emphasize the rule of law and the strict implementation of a minimum set of necessary regulations. Thank you for your attention.